In the summer of 1987, at the height of Mikhail Gorbachev's policy of glasnost, a 41-year-old Donald Trump received a remarkable invitation. The Soviet ambassador to the United States, Yuri Dubinin, personally reached out to the ambitious New York real estate developer. The proposition was grand travel to Moscow as an esteemed guest of the state to explore the possibility of building a luxury hotel, a Trump Tower, in the heart of the Soviet Empire. For a man obsessed with branding and global recognition, the offer was, honestly, irresistible. It represented a unique opportunity to plant his golden monogrammed flag in a place where few Western capitalists had ever ventured, making a statement that would resonate far beyond the world of real estate development and into the realm of international affairs. The journey was meticulously arranged by Intourist, the official Soviet state travel agency, an organization widely understood to be a front for the KGB. Upon his arrival in Moscow with his then-wife Ivana, Trump was given the full VIP treatment. He was not just another visitor, he was a person of special interest. He was chauffeured around the city, shown potential construction sites near Red Square, and celebrated at lavish banquets. This level of access and attention was highly unusual for a private American citizen. The Soviets were clearly rolling out the red carpet, signaling that Trump was someone they valued and wished to impress, a strategy designed to appeal directly to his well-known vanity and grand ambitions. His accommodations were as symbolic as they were luxurious. Trump was housed in the Lenin Suite at the National Hotel, a prestigious room historically reserved for the most important state guests. However, this opulent setting had a hidden purpose. It was known among intelligence circles to be thoroughly bugged, equipped with listening devices and hidden cameras to monitor every conversation and action. The KGB's interest was not merely in Trump's hotel proposal, but in the man himself. Every moment of his stay, from private discussions with Ivana to his reactions during official meetings, would have been recorded and analyzed by Soviet intelligence officers, providing them with a rich psychological profile. The entire trip was a masterclass in Soviet influence operations. The flattery, the exclusive access, and the promise of a monumental business deal were all standard tools in the KGB's playbook for cultivating potentially useful Westerners. They identified individuals who were influential, ambitious, and perhaps susceptible to manipulation due to their ego or financial vulnerabilities. Trump, a rising star in American business with a loud and confident personality, fit the profile perfectly. The Soviets saw him not just as a builder of towers, but as a potential asset. A person who, if properly nurtured, could become a friendly and influential voice within the United States, knowingly or unknowingly serving their long-term strategic interests. Upon returning to the United States from Moscow, Donald Trump's trajectory took a series of curious and dramatic turns. At the time of his trip, his business empire was reportedly facing significant financial strain, with some accounts suggesting he was on the brink of bankruptcy. Yet, almost immediately after his Soviet visit, his fortunes seemed to, miraculously reverse. A consortium of 16 different banks extended him enormous lines of credit, providing a much-needed financial lifeline that allowed him to not only stabilize his operations, but to expand them aggressively. This sudden influx of capital from so many institutions raised questions about what had changed so suddenly to make him such an attractive investment. This newfound financial confidence was most spectacularly demonstrated with his purchase of the Plaza Hotel in Manhattan. Trump acquired the iconic landmark for an astonishing $407.5 million, a price that was, at the time, the highest ever paid for a hotel. What made the deal even more unusual was the report that he had agreed to the record-breaking price without any significant negotiation. For a man who had built his entire reputation on being a tough, unyielding deal-maker, this move seemed out of character. It was a bold, almost reckless display of financial power that cemented his status as a major player, but left observers wondering about the source of his newfound leverage and willingness to overpay. Just weeks after his return from the USSR, another significant shift occurred, this time in the political arena. On September 1st, 1987, Trump spent nearly $100,000 to place full-page advertisements in major national newspapers, including the New York Times and the Washington Post. Under the headline, "There's nothing wrong with America's foreign defense policy that a little backbone can't cure," he launched a scathing attack on U.S. allies, particularly Japan and Saudi Arabia, accusing them of exploiting American protection without paying their fair share. This public declaration was his first major foray into foreign policy, and its message was strikingly aligned with long-standing Soviet propaganda narratives aimed at weakening America's international alliances. This sudden pivot from real estate mogul to foreign policy critic was startling. His public commentary echoed key themes of Soviet disinformation, particularly the idea that NATO and other US alliances were a drain on American resources and should be dismantled. For decades, the Kremlin had worked to sow discord among Western allies, and here was a prominent American businessman broadcasting that very message across the nation's most influential publications. The timing was uncanny. Coming so soon after a carefully orchestrated trip to Moscow, it fueled speculation that his visit had been more than just a business exploration. It was the beginning of a new, politically charged chapter in his public life. Long before Donald Trump's high-profile visit to Moscow, he was already on the radar of Eastern Bloc intelligence services, thanks to his marriage. In 1977, he married Ivana Zelnicek, a citizen of what was then communist Czechoslovakia. This union immediately drew the attention of the Státní bezpečnost, or STB, Czechoslovakia's formidable secret police. The STB was deeply intertwined with the Soviet KGB and routinely shared intelligence with its partners in Moscow. Marriages between their citizens and prominent Westerners were considered matters of national security, and the STB began to compile a detailed file on the couple, meticulously tracking their activities, finances, and social circles. The primary source of information for the STB came from an unlikely informant, Ivana's own father, Milos Zelnicek. Declassified STB files reveal that Milos regularly provided intelligence to his handlers about his daughter and son-in-law. During Ivana's visits back home, and through his own communications, he passed on details about Trump's business dealings, his growing wealth, and crucially, his political ambitions. The STB was particularly interested in Trump's connections to the American political elite and his potential influence. Milos's role as an informant gave the spies in Prague, and by extension Moscow, a direct line of insight into the heart of Trump's world. The STB's surveillance operation, codenamed Slusovice, intensified throughout the 1980s. The files show that the agents were not just passively collecting information, they were actively analyzing Trump's character and vulnerabilities. They noted his desire for fame and his sensitivity to flattery, traits they believed could be exploited. This ongoing intelligence gathering meant that when Trump finally traveled to Moscow in 1987, the KGB was not meeting a stranger. They were already equipped with a comprehensive file, courtesy of their Czech counterparts, which included years of observations about his personality, his business practices, and his budding political interests. This background information was invaluable in crafting their cultivation strategy. This intricate web of espionage highlights the standard operating procedures of Cold War intelligence agencies. They were patient, methodical, and saw immense value in long-term surveillance. The goal was not always immediate recruitment, but the gradual development of a relationship with a person of interest. By monitoring Trump through his family connections for a decade, the STB and KGB were playing a long game. They identified a target of opportunity, gathered intimate details through a trusted family source, and waited for the right moment to make a more direct approach, a moment that seemingly arrived with the invitation to Moscow. In recent years, the story of Trump's Moscow trip has been revived by startling claims from those who were once inside the Soviet intelligence apparatus. Several former KGB officers, now living in the West, have come forward independently to state that Donald Trump was targeted for cultivation as a Russian asset beginning in the late 1980s. Yuri Shvets, a former KGB major, has asserted that the Soviets identified Trump as a target, flattered his ego, and fed him anti-NATO talking points, which he then repeated in public. Alnur Musayev, a former head of intelligence for Kazakhstan, has even claimed Trump was given a KGB code name, though no documentary evidence has been produced to support these allegations. These former spies describe a classic KGB methodology. The process began with identifying a target who possessed traits like narcissism, intellectual insecurity, and a hunger for validation. The next step was flattery, praising their genius and business acumen. This would be followed by dangling the prospect of lucrative deals that might never materialize, but served to keep the target engaged. Throughout this process, the subject would be under constant surveillance, with agents looking for any personal or financial weaknesses that could be used as leverage or compromat. The goal was not necessarily to recruit a formal spy, but to cultivate a reliable asset who would promote Soviet interests out of their own volition. Despite the consistency in these accounts, it is crucial to emphasize that there is no definitive hard proof to substantiate them. No leaked files, authenticated documents, or verifiable recordings have emerged to confirm that Trump was a witting or unwitting agent of the Kremlin. The stories remain in the realm of intelligence law and circumstantial evidence. The Mueller report, for instance, detailed numerous links between the Trump campaign and Russia, but did not establish a criminal conspiracy. The narrative, therefore, is a mosaic of suspicious events, insider claims, and long-term behavioral patterns, leaving the public to connect the dots without a smoking gun. Ultimately, the saga of Trump's 1987 Moscow trip serves as a powerful case study in the subtle arts of espionage and influence. It forces us to consider the blurry line between coincidence and cultivation, and how the ambitions of powerful individuals can intersect with the strategic goals of foreign adversaries. The story is a stark reminder that during the Cold War, the battle for influence was not only fought with weapons and treaties, but also in the minds of Western elites. Whether Trump was a deliberate target of a sophisticated KGB plot, or simply a businessman whose ego and political ideas happened to align with Moscow's, the enduring questions surrounding his journey into the Soviet sphere continue to shape our understanding of leadership, loyalty, and the hidden forces at play in global politics.